Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Surviving Life Today podcast. I am your host, Kelly McFarland, and I am here to help focus on how we're all surviving life today. I am an anthropologist, researcher, food advocate. My anthropology is focused really keenly on food systems, the industrial food system, and local solutions, and how we got here. So, I wanted to use this chat today to talk about one of my favorite articles to teach in class that really shines a light on what has happened to the United States food system. And so this is The Extraordinary Science of Addictive Junk Food, and it is from Michael Moss. Michael Moss has written many articles, books, or a few books on this topic. And this article really kind of packs a punch for what has happened to get us into this situation with food. This year in food research, the NIH is taking a specific focus on how ultra-processed foods are killing us and the dangers of ultra-processed foods and a pathway to solutions. So this is a timely article for me to be talking about. It's something that I actually love to talk about all the time because I think it helps train us to be better researchers. But also, it really captures the things about the development of the food system that I see as somewhat missed in food research to understand how we have gotten here and why people have the perspectives that they do. So that is my purpose for focusing here. So in this article on the extraordinary science of addictive junk food, the two main points that they're making is that junk food is designed so that we don't really know what we're eating, and junk food is targeting young audiences who don't know better. The article on the extraordinary science of addictive junk food begins in 1999 with all the heavy hitters in food attending a meeting where they are discussing the obesity epidemic. In that meeting, James Benke, who is a chemist and food scientist, talks about rumors of a sugar tax and wanted to warn these CEOs of all these food companies of the health risks of snacks and sugary foods. There was a huge amount of data to support those findings at the time, and James Benke proposed to those scientists to evaluate overeating, pull back the sugar, salt advertising, and colorful packaging, and develop a code to guide nutritional aspects of advertising to kids. The response to Benke from the CEOs was that consumers react to taste, not health, and change would jeopardize the sanctity of their recipes. And instead of needing to pull back, they needed to push harder. Now, many people that I have taught weren't even born when these decisions were being made. Okay, many people that I have taught are born post-2000. And so this idea that all of these sugars and all of these products that are knowingly harming them were on purpose pushed into foods by the CEOs of all these corporations really does not sit well with them, just as an aside. Also, according to the American Pediatric Association, I believe, the American Pediatrics Association says that under 6, children have a hard time differentiating between a commercial or a cartoon. So they don't really know if something is telling them something factually, like from the news, or it's a commercial to push a product, or if it's an entertainment TV show at the age of 6. At the age of 8, children make direct food decisions in most families. For instance, if a child says that they want to try something new that they saw on a commercial, the family is much more likely to buy that product. Just putting that out there. Anyway, so then Moss's article continues to talk about designer junk food, What do we mean by that? Well, Dr. Pepper went through testing to design the flavor of Dr. Pepper. And Howard Moskowitz helped to optimize food by finding the most perfect version of a product. Well, how do they do that? Well, they'll have people, whatever. So if you're drinking a soda, they have panels of people drink the soda and then give feedback on how bubbly it is, how sugary it is, the aftertaste, the salt content, how it sips, how it smells, how it swirls, how it feels in the mouth. And they use all of this data to create a bliss point, the point of maximum interest in the product. So this helps some companies to lower the sugar amount in products. But what it also helps these companies to do is make it so that cardboard is delicious. We can't tell the difference. And up until this point in manufacturing foods in this nature, a big way that we could tell if we needed things, like if we needed iron in our system, is that we would crave red meat or we would crave something with iron in it. Our cravings got completely messed up when we started designing food, because now we don't know what we crave. There's also the idea of sensory specific satiety, which is it peaks taste buds to be alluring, but it doesn't cue our brains that it is a distinct flavor that we get tired of, so we stop eating it. So even in this designing of these foods and the flavors around the food, a part of the design is that it's not an overpowering flavor that we get tired of, so that we will keep consuming it and keep consuming it. There's also the mouthfeel and the color. That's something that we also design foods for. So on one side of this, when we create foods like this, we're designing junk food, meaning that we're designing how you experience food, how it tastes in your mouth, how it looks, how it feels, how full you get, all of those things. On the next side of this, on the next point of this, we're figuring out how to sell it. So in comes Lunchables. And Michael Moss talks about how Lunchables really came from the failure in bologna packaging and purchasing. So because there was, in the 80s, less purchasing of bologna and cold cuts in that manner, they started to research on how they could repackage these foods in a way that they would sell. They targeted working moms because working moms, as far as these companies were concerned, had the hardest time in the mornings packaging lunches. Okay, so this isn't in the article stated as a factual problem. It's stated as this is the problem because of bologna that was created. Okay. A part of the problem with bologna in packaging lunches was that bread became soggy, but crackers held up. So they went with processed cheeses so that the cheese would stand up to lunchtime, and they assembled foods differently, keeping the TV dinner kind of idea in mind as Lunchables were born. This is the first time a food entity advertised directly to children. The marketing strategy changed from targeting working mothers to targeting children. The Lunchables commercials started to go on morning cartoons. and they were colorful and bright and showed children taking control of their own lunch by getting Lunchables. Think back to what I said a few minutes ago about children under 6 not knowing the difference between commercials and documentaries, and children under 8 determining their family's food purchases. Okay, so children were targeted, and it flipped the script on how these commercials around food would be produced. The fresh ingredients did not work, and they took too long to transport. So really using processed foods was the best way to develop the Lunchable. Think about this when you think about this year, the NIH is focusing on how these foods are killing us, right? So then when we get to the end of this article and we think about the point that the junk food is designed, right? So it's made to have whatever mouthfeel, whatever flavor, whatever, all of these different things to make us eat it and not even be able to stop eating it. And that junk food targets children and targets audiences that don't know better, don't know nutrition, and only really know, like, that looks cool and I want to try it. Then we can see why the NIH would be focusing on these ultra-processed foods that are killing us today. But also, I do want to point out, as a food researcher and as somebody who works with communities about food, we can't really blame the people for eating the food, because this is by design. These foods were designed for these people to eat them. And I know a lot of people don't like it that I always do this, but going back to the idea of capitalism and the fact that we always want to make more money and that we want to get the biggest return on our investment, the idea of processed foods, ultra-processed foods with very little nutritional value, sinks quite easily into the world of capitalism. So as we take the next steps forward in life, and as we take the next steps of thinking about where we're headed, we also need to consider food. What food looks like, where it should go, and what we want to eat. Okay? So I hope that you found this as informative as I do. I hope that the extraordinary science of addictive junk food was as eye-opening of an article to you as it was to me. It's very interesting where we find ourselves today, and I have the utmost faith that we will find a way through this. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments below if you like. Like, subscribe, hype me up. And until next time, I hope that you survive and thrive in all that you do. Take care.